In this video, I'm going to show you how to put a buttercream stencil on a cake. Hi, it's Karolyn. I'm a professional cake decorator, and on this channel, I share my tips and tricks and ways that I bake and decorate cakes to help you along your journey. So if you'd like to join me, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you can get notified whenever I release a new video. But before I get started, I just want to thank you guys. You guys have been so awesome, and I am just so happy that I'm building this little community here. I'm learning so much from you as you're telling me that you're learning from me, and I'm just so appreciative of everyone. I know the people who've been here with me from the start, my day ones. I know all of you guys, and also if you're new to the channel, welcome, and I look forward to teaching you guys so much more about making cakes. So I am doing a buttercream stencil on a cake, and it can get a little hectic when I do this, and I just filmed it, and I'm gonna try to edit it so I don't look like a crazy person. So you're gonna need a cake iced in buttercream icing. It has to be flat on the sides. If your icing is not perfectly straight up and down on the sides, you're gonna have issues with this. I refrigerate all of my cakes, so when I take this out of the refrigerator, I do it while the icing is still solid and it's not going to mess it up. And just a reminder, my birthday cake design blueprint is linked in the description below. So let's get into the video. All right, to start, I have a pot of hot water on my stove, and you may not be able to see it, so I just wanted to show you. I'm going to be dipping the spatula in the hot water and wiping it on the cake, but I'm not going to keep showing that in the video. Just so you know, it's very close. It's going to be easy if you have the source of hot water close to you. All right, I have my cake. I just took it out of the refrigerator. The icing is solid, and this is not going to get messed up when I do this. I have the stencil that I'm going to put on the cake, and I got this a long time ago. However, I can find a similar one and link it below. Very, very, very important when you do something like this. The sides of your cake must be straight up and down. If they are not perfectly straight, you're going to have issues with the stencil bubbling and not working right. Trust me, it's happened to me so many times. I have a video on how I ice cakes, and I will link that below. But basically, when I took this bench scraper to scrape the sides, I made sure that it was perfectly straight up and down, right? You don't want the top sticking out further than the bottom. You know, it's very important that you do that, because if it's not perfectly straight, when you put this against the side, it's gonna bubble like this, and it's just not going to work. I'm gonna put this up against the cake, and I can see that there's a little part on the top that is exposed, and I just want to cover that up so I don't make a huge mess. So I'm just looking to see where this pattern ends, and I'm just making a mental note of it. It's right above this little part here. So what I want to do, I have painter's tape, and painter's tape is good to use because it's very forgiving. I can put this on here and peel it off and not ruin anything. So I'm just going to take some painter's tape and cover that top part that was sticking out. All right, so I covered it right above this piece here. And now when I put it back on the cake, there's no space exposed above the stencil. So what I like to do, I have the front of my cake here, and I want to start in the front because I want to put the pattern front and center. I have two little push pins here. I had a hole around here somewhere. Oh, here it is. So I'm going to pin it into the cake to hold it down. Stretch it around so it's tight. And doing the same thing on this side. So this just holds it in place. I'm still going to use my hand to make sure that it stays in place. I have some black buttercream here. This is just my regular American buttercream recipe that I added some black coloring to. And it's holding peaks. It's not super stiff. It's not super soft. I want to have some paper towels here so I can wipe this off as I dip it in the hot water. And I prefer to use a tapered spatula like this, or something like a small palette knife, because it's easier to, it's just easier for me. You can use whatever spatula you want to do for this. So get a bunch on the spatula, and I still want to press it down against the side of the cake. And I'm just going to start to spread the buttercream on top. You see how it lifts here? That's why I don't love these push pins. I just feel like it's a little easier if I just hold it down against the cake. It's a little more challenging, but if I can hold it back here, then it's going to stay flat. And just spreading that on top of the stencil. Just going to keep grabbing buttercream as I need it. So I'm making sure, first of all, it's going to be a little thicker to start, and then I'm going to scrape the excess off. And I'm just going to cover the whole thing. I'm holding this end down because that push pin was not working. Once the buttercream is on here, it's going to hold it down. So I need to let go of that side. I need two hands to do this. And I want to start pushing this side down too. All right, now I got all the buttercream on. I'm going to dip my spatula in the hot water. Use the water on the spatula. The hot water is going to heat the metal. And just start smoothing it out. So I don't want to take off all the black, but I don't want the icing to be too thick. If the icing is too thick, it's not going to look right. It's going to look chunky. And I literally have been saying that word in every video, and I hate it so much, but it's so true. So you need to find a happy medium. You don't want to see the icing color pink showing through underneath, because then there won't be enough icing on there. And if you ever put it on too thick, you'll know. So as I'm wiping this off, I'm not scraping it with the side. I'm kind of pressing it down with the flat end. So it's on like a 45-degree angle like this against the cake. It's not scraping it exactly like this. It's a little bit on an angle. So if you could start seeing the white from the stencil underneath the buttercream, then that's good. But you don't want to see the pink of the cake. Well, all right. Let me just clean this last part off. Pull this pin out and lift the stencil off carefully. All right, there we go. So it's not perfect. It's actually perfect in the front, and that's what matters to me right now. But if you could see, so this is, you can see a lot of pink in between. Over here, it's a little messed up, okay? I'm going to rinse the stencil off in very hot water and dry it completely so I can put it on the other side of the cake. Now when I want to dry the stencil, I have paper towels, so I'm going to put one underneath, and then on top I'm going to dab. So this way the top and the bottom is going to be dry. Now in order to fix these little spaces here, and that's just me being a little attention to detail, I want to get, I'm going to use this one. Has a teeny pointy head on it. I'm going to get it wet, and what you can do if you want to fix this, just take the paintbrush and wipe in between, wipe the excess off on a paper towel, and you can kind of clean it up wherever it bled. Sometimes that it just happens. Beautiful. So now there's this space at the bottom, and I'm going to put a ribbon down there so it'll cover that up. Look over here, can you see how all of this is pretty thin, but at the end right here, since I didn't clean it off completely, it's a little thicker, right? It's a little chunkier. I have to stop saying that word. It's a little thicker than the rest. So that's why it's important to clean off the stencil until you can see the white underneath, the white part of the stencil. Okay, so what I'm gonna do real quick, I'm gonna pop this in the freezer for like 5 minutes just to get it all solid. That way when I put it on the other side of the cake, it's not gonna mess it up. All right, just took this out of the freezer. It was in there for 5 minutes and I can touch it and it's not getting messed up. So now we can continue. Now, if the cake gods are on my side, this is gonna match up. So do you see how I'm kind of overlapping the black? So I'm gonna put, I don't wanna have it just exactly against it because I'm gonna have a little space there. So I'm just kind of letting a little bit of the black come through and then wrapping it around. Please be long enough. Please be, yes, it's long enough. Okay, good. So this is not gonna match up perfectly, and that is fine. If you were doing a cake that is longer, what you're gonna wanna do is start in the front like we did, go down one side and get to the very back, and then go down the other side and get to the very back. So this time what I'm gonna do, and this is how I've always done it, what I usually do is just put a shot glass or something there to keep the stencil up, or you can pin it back. And I know this is stupid and it's something dumb that I do, but I just do it this way. This way I don't have to pin it and hold it down or whatnot. But if you want to, you can take a pin and pin it back down. So you can line it up again and pin it down. I'm not gonna pin it, I'm just gonna hold it, but if you want to, you can pin it down and do the same thing again, wiping the buttercream on and then taking it off with the hot spatula. You see how once the buttercream is down, it kind of holds it against the cake so I don't need the pins. I'm not going to guide you to not do that. I'm just used to doing it this way. If you're just starting out, you're going to want to pin the stencil back down to the cake. Now this pattern is not going to match up here, and that's okay. I'm just going to take the icing to the spot right here where it meets. Sometimes it would be nice to have 3 hands because this can get a little challenging. Good, same thing, get my spatula in the hot water and just start taking off the icing until I can see the white stencil underneath. And that looks pretty good. Carefully lift it off and pray that it looks good. Ah! Okay, not bad. So you can see right here where the pattern doesn't match up, and that's okay. I just want to get a palette knife and clean up where the icing is sticking up over the top of the cake. And then to clean this icing off at the top, I can actually just wet a paintbrush and just kind of use the hot water to erase the extra icing marks that it made. Now here, where it doesn't match, I want to get a paintbrush in hot water, and you could just kind of press it down, use the hot water just to make the pattern a little flatter, and it kind of looks like it matches there, right? So you see up here how I took a little bit too much icing off of the top. You could see the pink through. Not a big deal, but yeah, where did it meet? So here's where the pattern met, where I started the stencil again. And again, I just want to take the paintbrush and press it down. So the reason I start in the front and go back is if I started in the back and came around, the front would not, it could have like a mismatched pattern here. So you always want to start in the front and go to the back of the cake when you do something like this. And there is your beautiful stencil on your cake. So here you go. How adorable is this? I love this damask pattern. It's just so classy and pretty. And this is actually for a 50th birthday cake. I marked with a little marker on the cake board where the front of my cake is, so I don't forget which part is the front. Now, I will say this, and about all of my cakes, they're not perfect, right? So the pattern doesn't always match up. There's little flaws here and there that I showed you in the video how to correct. And trust me, when this is all put together, someone's not going to look at it and say, oh my gosh, a little bit of black is bleeding there, you know? So try to be easy on yourself and try to be a little patient. If it gets a little messed up, put a decoration there. You can always hide it. I'm going to put a bow on this cake. There's going to be so much going on with it that you're really not going to see where the pattern doesn't match up or whatnot. Now, I know that was a little weird because when I see people do buttercream stencils, they always pin it to the cake. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. It's not going to move around. However, I find it necessary to originally get it in the right spot, but then the pins after a while just don't really serve me a purpose. So that's why I remove them, why I use that weird little shot glass at one point, because it just kind of holds it against the cake and prevents it from pulling off. So just like anything else in cake decorating, you find what works for you. I make bows weird, I do this weird, I get sharp edges on fondant weird. You know, it's just what has worked for me, and that's what I want to do, is share what works for me, and maybe it will work for you. And I need a drink. So I'll post the finished product here. And I'm also going to film how I do the name band on here. I don't know if I'm going to post it before or after this video. So once I have that posted as well, I will link that in the description. And I also have videos on how I make the big bow, how I make a big topper, and I can link that in the description below as well. So I think that's it. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them below. And you can follow me on my socials, and I have my website. And if you want to stick around, you can watch these 2 videos next. And hit the subscribe button and the bell if you haven't already. Please like this video if you liked it. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. And remember, it's cake. Have fun. I will see you on... Why did I say it like that? Have fun. But seriously, stop being so serious. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.